good morning, or good afternoon, whichever time I'm posting this. I found this video recommended to me on my For You page on YouTube, and it's from this guy Six right here. I've never seen his channel before, and apparently he wanted to make a video a few days ago to complain about Mr. Rev Says Desu. Now, recently, Rev has been doing a lot of content about games like Marathon. What's the other one? Xvado, and a lot of different things that surround the political space concerning video games and like the reason why certain games go under or like certain studios go under. And it's mostly because when it comes to these certain games, there's a lot of bad marketing, there's a lot of bad like buzz around it, and that's specifically because there's like an inane sense and intention from some of these studios or companies to politicize it and to put an agenda in their video games instead of making just a good product. That's exactly what happened to like Xvado. But when it came to Marathon, this guy got really defensive over it because I don't know. Because I actually, you know what? I haven't even watched the video yet. So let's try and find that out.
Today, we're actually going to be talking about something very interesting. A guy that we've never talked about a single day on this channel, alright? And do not fact check that, okay? Today, we're going to be talking about the fucking lolly himself, Rev Says Kaku, or Rev Says Deku, or Desu. Dude, I don't, fuck this guy, man. I don't care, okay? Unfortunately, the freaks that want every single game to fail are back at it again.
It took him like a solid 30 seconds to really get into the meat and potatoes of what the video was about. Not even then, he hasn't really said anything. And I gotta be honest, by 30 seconds, I would have just clicked off.
This time, they've set their little fucking sights on a game that I actually quite like, Marathon, made by the same people who made Halo and Destiny. And before we get into this video, I have to say something.
I mean, say what you will about Bungie, you know, they made some good shit in the past. But it's not the same team. I think, you know, inarguably, it's not the same vision that they had before when they were making Halo and like Halo-based games. And even then, after years had passed, Halo just wasn't as it used to be. And today's Halo is not, you know, as it used to be. It's not like, and I'm not saying that Destiny is that same way, but there are complaints here and there about Destiny that, you know, have been going around, such as like microtransaction hell. You can obviously see, you know, if you even look for like a second, that people do talk about those sorts of things because they believe them to be serious issues with the game. So it's not like Bungie is perfect, but I get where he's coming from, you know. I get where he's coming from, but it doesn't. If you look for like 5 seconds, you'll be able to see that people do actually complain about Bungie here and there and Bungie related games, you know.
Because I've noticed a strange and peculiar pattern every time I talk about somebody that is right-leaning or somebody that's in Asmongold's, I guess, circle. I usually get like bombarded with like hate comments every time I talk about like Rev, or I talk about like Asmongold or Tectone. So I think this is probably the last video that I'm gonna make on these guys.
I mean, you did mention right there, right-leaning, like, I don't really see that as like anything to be critical. I don't really understand why he said that. We talk about video games and you know, the content and the quality of video games. Anything that's political is like adjacent or politically adjacent. He usually talks about because politics can be inserted into video games, and that's what kills video games really, is when you like split the audience. But I don't think there's really any point to bringing up the fact that he's right-leaning, or I don't even really know if he's right-leaning. So I'm not gonna say that as a hard truth, but I don't really understand the reason to bring that up.
because I just can't really handle like my channel being like flooded with dislikes and like fucking hate comments, and I really just I can't. No, I'm just kidding. All of you guys can suck my fucking cock, all right? I'm actually gonna continue to make videos on your favorite creators, and you guys can just go ahead and continue to cry in the comment section, okay? But you know, those of you who can read at a third grade level, you know, continue to watch this amazing content, and you know, don't forget to like and subscribe, all right?
Yeah, he unironically has like the same mentality that Rev says Desu has when he comes across some like medium, especially like when it comes to Twitter. There's always people who just like cry and complain about it, especially to people like Hero Hey or even himself, that make certain comments about the game that are like, or that make videos about the games that are failing at the moment. And there'll be like people who are, you know, online constantly on like social justice warriors on Twitter, just, you know, I hate this guy because he's ruining my game or whatever. They don't. This guy is unironically doing the same thing that Rev does, where he's just like, I don't really care. I don't really care, and he's also trying to sound cooler, you know. Buddy, here's the thing: nobody really cares. Honestly, just nobody cares. So you can skip this part of the video because it doesn't really affect anything. And you know, if you actually do talk about something that's relative to the subject matter, just try and put that first before you put this segment. You know, it makes the video a lot more entertaining.
Also, we have a Discord. Okay, so join the Discord if you want to recommend me things to react to. All right, yeah, let's get on with this fucking video, I guess.
Hey, what's up, guys? Ref here. So yesterday we got the official release.
Took like 2 minutes to get into the video. 2 minutes to get into the video that you wanted to talk about. Buddy, no one is paying attention for that long.
Release of Bungie's Marathon, and the question on the minds of millions right now is whether or not this game is a flop.
Nah, actually, I think that's unfortunately just on the mind of you freaks who hate video games for some reason. Ever since Asmongold called the designs of the characters in this game, like, woke, or whatever the fuck, you guys just fell right in line.
Actually, this game is probably gonna fail, even though it has 80,000 players, and, yeah, 80,000 players actually isn't that much.
Like, I'm so tired of these people who constantly make content basically praying. They're holding their breaths for these games to fail. Why? Don't you want good games to be out on the market?
I mean, the idea behind why they say the things that they do is because it's showing a paradigm shift in the overall market of video games. You know, Bungie has been doing, you know, first-person shooters for years now. Years and years and years. And Destiny's really good, but why would you play Marathon when you have Destiny? Why would you play Marathon when you have something like Call of Duty? Why would you play Marathon when there's a bunch of other indie games that you could really latch onto and enjoy? It's not that we want these games to fail. It's that we know this is a market that's like completely oversaturated with just title after title after title, and nobody wants to play. Nobody wants to grind through all these different things, you know, just to not be with it after about like 2 weeks. You know, there's like obviously the 2 week period you're gonna give it a shot, right? But after that, it's gonna die down. And for a game with as high of a budget as it had, and as big of a studio as Bungie, 80,000 players is really not that much. When it comes to something like Fortnite, or because they're relatively could be, you know, considered on the same level. Bungie and Epic could be on the same level pretty much. Fortnite has hundreds of thousands of players at every given point, almost millions, or I'm pretty sure above millions at this point. And to say that 88,000 is like is not failing, it's pretty bad for a studio that's supposed to be like, you know, with the big dogs. It's supposed to be competing on that same level. And if it's not catching people's attention, then that means there's something wrong with the product. It means there's something that needs to be changed. Not only that, but if you look at like Steam charts, people are just playing more indie games now than they are for bigger titles like Marathon. Who is to blame for that? That's just business. at that point. That's just letting the results play out, you know? Like, even aside from commentary channels making their own, like, videos and doing everything they want, or, like, making all the things that they say about it, the results, they speak for themselves. These guys, Rev and Asman, are just commenting on the situation and providing context as to why these things are happening with facts, evidence, Steam charts, and all that good stuff to prove all that sort of things. Nobody wants Marathon to fail. It's failing because this is a market that's oversaturated. There's so many people that want to play bigger and better games. They don't want another Apex Legends or another Fortnite or another Destiny. They just want a good game. They want something fresh. I think Marathon shows that there's a lack of creativity. It could have had something. I think that's undoubtedly true, but I think they kind of squashed it. They kind of squandered that opportunity. And that's not to say that it's dead completely, but it's on its way.
Why does every single game that you deem to be like, I guess like woke or like have like a design that doesn't like get you hard? You guys all want those types of games to fail. It's so fucking weird.
Did it fulfill the dreaded trilogy?
If I have to hear about Concord one more fucking time.
I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes down to its stylization, there's a reason why people go to things like Fortnite or to Destiny, you know? They want to see something cool. I don't think Marathon provides that sort of thing to the effect that something like Destiny or Fortnite has. It just doesn't provide enough, you know? It's not doing enough to, you know, provide a reason as to why people should make a switch. Because people are already playing games. They're already playing the games that they like. And for a $40 game, Marathon provides little reason as to why people should buy it over something, you know, like what I just mentioned. And there's so many other games that people play too. They have to appeal to everybody, which makes them appeal to nobody, which, you know, makes them just crash. And I think that's why the game is doing bad, because they're trying to appeal to everybody and they're not doing a good job at it.
We get it. Game bad. Duh.
Now, of course, we're off to a really bad start when not only are we seeing somewhat disappointing numbers, but also Bungie going out and heavily suggesting to media outlets that they wait on their reviews until late March, when just coincidentally a major patch is coming up.
Why would I, like, care about that? What? I don't understand. Is that supposed to be a bad thing? The game developers are asking kindly for reviewers to wait a little bit for the major update before they give their final review on the game. Okay.
And then we see...
Well, that should have been done when the game was released. Their update should have, you know, come out when the game came out. People are tired of day one patches. People are tired of games coming out in a barely playable state. People want games that are fully formed so that they get the full product that they are promised, that they paid for with their money, so that they can have the product that they want, you know? It's not hard to ask, you know, hey, can I get this done in a timely manner and get my money's worth? Okay, thank you. Thank you. You got it done. There's no problems with it. You built this boat. This boat is completely safe, on time. You got it to me on time, that I paid for. And I won't have to worry about it sinking, you know, because I'm going to put it on the water. And, you know, you won't have to make any day one patches.
Games journalists coming out and saying, this is not exactly the numbers they were expecting, and the player count is a bit concerning.
Oh, gotcha. So, games journalists are suddenly good now, and they totally make valid opinions. Isn't that, like, the opposite of what you preach, though? Never mind, guys. I must be mistaken.
I mean, usually when it comes to game journalists, they're always putting in the direction, or they're always putting it in a concept, or they're always pointing to the direction that, you know, whatever game that they want to support politically or whatever is doing good. But sometimes they'll make posts, or sometimes they'll make journalists write about if a game is doing good or not, and why Marathon's decline is, kind of not good. If everyone else is saying that, then that means, Marathon isn't doing good. And that means it needs more players. 88,000 just isn't enough, So that kind of invalidates the earlier argument that it is enough from this guy, since this guy is implying that it is enough and that it's not dying, which is not bad. It's just like not good for a big company, But at some point here, even they are starting to realize, even the journalists are starting to realize that, things ain't looking so good. They say whatever they want. We just comment on the situation.
Huh.
It's a bit concerning when even games journalists are pointing this out. And of course, to make matters worse, to rub salt in the wound, on the same day as Marathon's release, an indie studio released Slay the Spire 2 that absolutely destroyed the player count of Marathon.
Wow, I get to eat 2 cakes. Amazing! Rev, give me your favorite game, and I could almost promise you I could find another game that has a higher player count. Why? It doesn't matter. What? Oh, I forgot. He actually doesn't have a favorite game because he doesn't play video games, actually.
And if you look,
that's not the point. He's not saying that Slay the Spire was his favorite game or anything like that. What he's saying is that big, massive corporate entity or a corporate company, Bungie, can't make a game that topples an indie dev game that has like 10 people working on it. Slay the Spire has just more people playing it. And that's because the decisions that Bungie made to get to Marathon weren't the right ones, and they led to its downfall. It led to it being less popular than an indie developer game, who, mind you, isn't political on the outside, doesn't have any political standing, or doesn't seem to share any political beliefs or anything like that. And if they do, they keep it to themselves. And it doesn't even really matter because it's just a good game that stands on its own. Why can't Marathon do that? Why can't Marathon stand on its own? Why is it having such a hard time?
look at the chart. They peaked on day one at about 88,000, which is not exactly the biggest number in the world. It's not atrocious. It's not Concord or anything like that, obviously. But with a game that's got hundreds of millions of dollars invested into it, is this going to be enough? Especially when we see a drop-off. I mean, again, we're still at 62,000, but that's still a roughly 25% decrease from day one to day two. That's not exactly too promising. But he's sitting here saying that Marathon's not going to sell millions of copies. It's going to. It's going to sell millions.
Yeah, buddy, I think you might have also forgotten that cosmetics exist in video games. Yeah, again, not too sure what the point he's trying to make here is.
But will it sell enough to even get...
That's not really something that's... I mean, I guess that is a factor, but at the end of the day, people don't really want to play a game that they paid for in full for like $40 just to have to buy more in said video game. Like, people have been against microtransactions ever since the whole, the whole Battle Pass fiasco started. Every single game after Fortnite included Battle Pass after Battle Pass after Battle Pass, and they still do. Nobody wants to be paying premium for something that they should have, or that they should be able to, attain in-game for free because it's a full release. That's what makes it a full release. That's what makes it a complete game. When Bungie or like any one of these big companies chase after live markets, they're chasing after microtransaction hells. Nobody wants to be stuck in microtransaction hells. They want to have and own the full ability of their game, because just like with The Crew, at any moment that game could just like poof, go away, and you won't be able to play it anymore, and that sucks. Nobody wants to be stuck in that.
to its budget or to make a profit? That is the main question.
You already know the second that he pulls out Grums that the situation has gotten pretty fucking dire, huh? It's just this group of people who do nothing but circle jerk each other all day. They use each other's fucking tweets about how much they want video games to fucking die and how badly they want video games to fail. Like they just use each other's tweets all the time. It's honestly just incredibly pathetic.
We're even
I mean, I guess you could say like, oh yeah, there is a circle jerk or whatever, but when it comes to Twitter, dude, that's all you're gonna get. They're just using the platform against itself and against the people who, creep on it on the daily and take no showers. Those types of people are fighting, or Rev, in his group, I guess, like the Asmongold group, you could call it that, I suppose, are fighting against an army of Twitter freaks that go after these sorts of projects because they want to make a statement. They want to dunk on the chuds, as they speak, as so to say. And nobody really should be dunking on each other. It's all about how good the game is, how good the game should be. And I think we've lost sight of that in this day and age. And I think a lot of people can agree that is exactly how it's going. Nobody wants games to die. Rev is always in the know and speaking about games that are good, games that look good, things, games that are going to come out and topple big companies. And I think that's a good thing. He's always in 1348 Xvato, he's talking about Knight's Path, a competitor in the same genre. You know what he's saying? He hopes Knight's Path goes good because their team is focusing on making a good game rather than spending any time creating a narrative for an agenda that they want to push, unlike 1348 Xvato. And you know what? 1348 Xvato is going under because it's not doing the job that it's assigned to do, which is make gamers feel like they're at home with it. It's trying to push a political message. It's trying to shove it in your face. It's trying to own the chuds, and that's not what gaming should be about. It should be about good video games, and that's what Knight's Path is doing. And that's why it's getting a lot of traction right now. Now it hasn't come out yet, and we'll see about the results when it does. But right now we're seeing multiple amounts of these video games that have a political agenda and that have bad marketing and just like bad design overall come to this point where they're having to die because there's no backbone behind it. These companies are bending to everyone else's will except the gamer, the actual person who plays the game.
Seeing some very bold aspirations from Bungie. According to Paul Tassi, the studio's aiming for nothing less than a top 5 spots on Circana sales chart.
I don't know about that, but I do know that Marathon has been sitting pretty comfortably in the top 5 of Steam for quite a long time. It just now dropped the top 6 because of the new Crimson Desert game, but I'm sure once the hype has died down around that, just like most single-player games, they will fall back down, which is nothing bad, by the way. A game doesn't need to have a constant, 100,000 player base. That doesn't matter. Stats don't fucking matter. As long as, if it's a multiplayer game like Marathon, as long as it keeps a nice and healthy player base that comes back and plays the game, that's all that really matters. You freaks are the only ones who care about, this super crazy, statistics shit. I'm so tired of Steam charts, man. The game could have 10,000 players, but as long as those 10,000 players come back and play every day, who fucking cares, man?
There is something to be said about a strong community that's going to stay there. But what about the people behind it? What about the developers? They need a constant influx of revenue. And I don't think 10,000 people are going to be able to support a game for years to come with just their wallets, Especially if it's someone that might be just a college student in his dorm playing the game and in a room in like a lobby full of 100 other people. Who knows? I actually don't know what Marathon is about, and I don't care either because I don't really want to play it. I'm not saying it's a bad game, but as from what I'm seeing on Steam charts, not a lot of people are thinking it's a game worth playing. Not as many as should, honestly. And that's bad for the company. There are a lot of people who are playing it, undoubtedly, but not as many as should play it. And what Rev is trying to say here is that these big companies that are pushing for this sort of thing are kind of getting their comeuppings and reaping the benefits of what they sow. And it's not much. It's not looking good. Not only that, this guy is pulling out the unironic, I hate statistics. I hate logic. I hate charts. Dude, the results, they speak for themselves. Without these guys saying anything, the results would still be the same. It's not going to change. These sorts of games are still going to go under. Who knows if Concord 3, or if Marathon is going to be Concord 3. I'd hate to see it. But it's going to be a hard lesson learned again. And just like how we saw with, what is it? Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. It's going to flop. It's going to flop. It flopped already, but like it's going to flop more because it's just not a good game. And it's not a bad game. It's not the worst game, but on a market full of so many different multiplayer games, it's just not worth playing when there's so many other good ones already. And there's so many other good indie games like Slay the Spire. It's not worth the drama, Play an indie game or like Peak or like Among Us or something like that, or even something like Fortnite to fill that desire. Or if you don't want something like Fortnite, there's so many other options. Why would you pick Marathon? And that's what people are coming to the conclusion to.
Year, if the game is to be considered a true success, all I can say to that is a very aspirational goal, and I wish them luck. That's going to be tough sledding for them. But upon release, there was endless articles promoting this game, and also studios coming out and congratulating Bungie and promoting their game, including those at Naughty Dog, saying a huge congratulations to Bungie on the launch of Marathon. But of course, there was another studio that announced this launch, but it went very differently. Slay the Spire 2 also launched on the same day as Marathon.
Yeah, it's time to be a statistic pervert, guys. Listen, we can't enjoy the game because another game that's also fucking awesome has better stats than it, guys, okay? Statistics. Oh, Steam charts. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's so good. I love fucking Steam charts, guys. Don't you guys love Steam charts? I love Steam charts. Don't enjoy games. Don't like any games because it has less players than other. Oh, my God. Get the fuck out of here.
Slay the Spire 2.
He's not saying that you can't enjoy Marathon just because Steam charts paints Slay the Spire, or the statistics say that Slay the Spire 2 is getting more players. There's a reason for that. There's a reason for both of these happenings. Both could, be great games, but at the end of the day, one of them is getting more attention because it's a better game by indie devs, and people want to support indie developers and they want to play games that don't force like ads or like microtransactions into your face. And Marathon isn't hitting that kind of spot. It's not doing that sort of thing. These are like comparing. It's not. These are two different games, but they're still in the same competition. At the end of the day, they're still competing for gamers. They're still competing so that people can play their game. And when Marathon is losing that sort of thing, it's bad for the, big corporate entity that's supposed to keep that player base. And that's supposed to have like 227,000 players. Not Slay the Spire 2.
Absolutely crushed Marathon. Right now you can compare the 60 or so thousand in-game players for Marathon versus the 227,000 in-game players for Slay the Spire 2.
And you know what? That's great. I love indie games. It's my favorite type of games to play, okay? That's fantastic for them. Very awesome, okay? I'm still gonna play Marathon, by the way. I'm actually gonna play both of the games because I play video games, unlike Rev says fucking Kaku.
They completely crushed Marathon.
Okay. Okay, you're not going to be the decision breaker on that one. You're not going to decide whether or not your vote isn't going to, decide whether or not Marathon, lives or dies, or that any of these games get like the biggest attention. It's not relevant. I mean, you're not relevant, honestly.
I mean, it wasn't exactly a competition, but they more than quadrupled the max counts for players in game. I mean, that's pretty insane.
Nope, actually, it definitely wasn't a competition, but you freaks like to make it a competition. Every single game that comes out, you have to compare Steam chart numbers to. And the genres of games just are completely different as well, which is why the comparison just makes absolutely no fucking sense. Again, congratulations to Slay the Spire. It's actually fucking amazing. That is an insane player count, and I'm genuinely very happy for them. But fuck this Rev Says Desu guy that's trying to use their player counts as a weapon to attack another game.
You have journalists.
He's comparing the two because he's trying to make a statement. He's saying that one game is doing something that the other isn't doing. You know what happens when one game pushes an agenda and the other doesn't? The other, gets better views and like more publicity. Yeah, Marathon has a lot of publicity, but it's not living up to the standards that the industry is supposed to, that the industry at that level expects. That's why it's failing. It's not doing everything it can. It's coming out with day one patches. It's coming out with a bunch of, I mean, if you've seen the designs, there's a huge difference in the designs from beforehand and like concept drawings to the actual art in game, and there's a stark difference. The microtransactions, there's also just low player count in general. You don't have enough people coming to it. There's also the fact that it's came out in the shooter market, which is completely, at this point, oversaturated with games that do everything that's just like it. So it's not doing anything new. It's not doing anything that people haven't seen before, and there really isn't any reason to play it above anything else. And it's just not, I mean, I guess you could say it is visually appealing, but it's not the most appealing game as something to like slay the spire, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. People are always going to keep comparing video games because they want to see where the market is. They want to know, like, where are people going? Where's everyone looking at? Because there's a market there when people are playing this sort of game, and there's a massive amount of people. There's 220,000 people playing Slay the Spire. Never heard of it before. What is that game? It'd be nice to check it out. Maybe there's more potential in this type of genre. Maybe it would be cool if more developers, like big companies, could try to pander, or like, pander is a good way to put it, unironically. Try to make games for that audience. Because at the end of the day, they're making games for an audience that just won't buy their games, won't play them. And that's not the type of audience that they should be, trying to go for. And for that's all that Rev is saying. That's all he's been saying.
Coming out and looking at the numbers so far for Marathon and saying, yeah, it's a bit concerning.
And this is why I say that you don't take any of these like lolly VTuber fucking right-wing grifters seriously. Because they don't hold any actual opinions. They just hold opinions that they think that you guys will like. By you guys, I'm talking about the people who stumbled across this video. If you're like a fan of Rev or whatever, this guy will never change his opinion about anything, alright? This guy will just say shit that he thinks that you will like to hear. I'm not the biggest Rev Says Desu fucking enjoyer or watcher, but I've watched a few of his videos, and normally he has a lot of very anti-journalist sentiment. It's just so crazy how that sentiment does a complete 180 when they're fighting for his side. Very interesting.
But if
He's not looking. Okay, when he talks about the journalists and he talks about them in a negative light, he's always saying that because they're usually trying to push an agenda. Here, he's saying that the Marathon Day 1 Steam player account is a bit concerning because it's public, because it's gaining publicity. When the actual, when the actual journalists that are fighting against your cause are, actually starting to be concerned about something like the Marathon player account, there's cause for concern in that. That's what he's saying, that they're starting to notice it now. And that's a good thing. People are starting to notice the shift and what people want to play. That's what companies should be doing. That's what journalists should be doing. I mean, honestly, journalists should be, reviewing the facts and just stating it as is. But a lot of them have succumbed to an agenda paid out by big companies or whatever to say what they want to say. And, that's not something that people like. That's not something that, gamers want to see. They don't want to see they don't want to see any of these articles that talk about how the gamer is wrong or how the player is wrong for not liking the game or not buying the game. There's a reason why people don't buy the game. And if you understand that reason, then you might unironically be the audience or not part of the audience for that matter. And as that audience grows smaller and smaller, you'll begin to understand and realize, oh, why is it like this? It's because of this. That's what we saw with 1348 Xfoto. That's what we saw with Concord. That's what we saw with Highguard. It just keeps happening and happening and happening again. No one wants these games to flop. They just do it it just happens on their own. If Rev didn't do these videos, if Asmon didn't do these videos, none of it would have changed anything. And you still would have been there arguing probably against no one. And about the point where he's saying that Rev is just grifting, yeah, okay, pal. He's reviewing the Steam charts, which are the facts of the matter. First of all, he's giving it to an audience that wants to see facts and logic according to the actual statistics. And then he is drawing his own conclusions by saying, here's why this isn't working. Here's why this is not going as planned. Here's what people are saying about it on Twitter. Here's what articles are saying about it. He's not just saying what other people are saying, He's looking at everything and he's drawing his own conclusion about it. If you've been watching the video at all, you probably would know that. He's read a few tweets here and there from people who might be on the same page as him, but he overall he's still doing the work on his own. And for a lot of people, for a lot of gamers, they'll see what he says and they'll take it as fact. Because sometimes people don't do their own research, but if you do your own research, you will find out what the actual statistics are. And believe me, he ain't far off. He's not wrong,
Of course, not every journalist is looking at the objective reality of what we know so far. We see the glazing.
There it is, guys. There it is. When the journalists that he was just praising start talking about how they actually enjoy the game, now they're just glazing, guys. They're just dick sucking the game, guys. This is unfounded. This is unneeded amounts of glazing. I just really don't take you seriously.
And another.
He's saying that about every single journal, especially from PC Gamer, which is notoriously left-leaning. Obviously, he's saying that these are the exact same people who would love to see these games flourish because of what they push, like Suicide Squad, which I talked about earlier. They're recording these sort of things and they're reporting these sort of things because they know what's happening too, and they normally they wouldn't. But the reason why they are is because they're trying to push an agenda. Rev is pointing that out. Rev is the one saying, oh, look at what they're doing now. Look at this. Even they notice it. That's how you know it's got to be bad. That's exactly what he's doing. Highguard is fine when you don't have an internet in your ear telling you is nasty. Marathon server slam consumed by my weekend. 21 hours later, I've gone from meh to believer. 8 hours in, Suicide Squad doesn't seem like the disaster some were waiting for. After 5 hours of exploring the galaxy and ghosting past stormtroopers, Star Wars Outlaws is finally winning me over. I played 7 hours of Concord this weekend and immediately want back in. I played 6 hours of Assassin's Creed Shadows, and folks, this one was worth the wait. Regardless of what all of these say, at the end of the day, they're still come from games that completely flopped. And there's a reason why they did. They didn't appeal to the audience that was supposed, or that they were supposed to appeal to. And that was bad on their fault. That was on their own dime. They decided to do what they did to make the game that bad, and now, they have to suffer the consequences.
Kiss of death from PC game journalist Morgan Park. And of course, they came out with the most recent one. The Marathon Server Slam consumed my weekend. 21 hours later, I've gone from meh to believer. Alright, Bungie, I'm in. Yeah, this is literally a kiss of death.
Yeah, you're totally right, dude. Every single game this Morgan Park guy talks about just instantly fucking flops and dies. Wait, guys, what is this? Helldivers 2 has still got it. Wait, by Morgan Park. That's nothing, guys. Just close your eyes.
This is Pattern.
That's a very cherry picked scenario. I mean, out of everything that Rev has said here, this was the most misunderstood out of everything. Basically, what Rev is trying to say isn't so much Morgan Park himself, but the games which he's defending. They're trying to appeal to a certain audience, right? They're trying to appeal to the audience that likes things like Concord and Marathon and High Guard and Suicide Squad. And, those games, they fail. They fail, and there's a good reason why. And yeah, Morgan Park. Who cares? Who cares about Morgan Park, honestly? But you get everything. If you get anything from the PC Gamer and take it as fact, you're probably not getting the full story, dude. You're probably not getting everything. You're getting a testimony from somebody who's playing the game and who might glaze it or might not. But you could play the game yourself and see what it is, And then you could look at the charts to see, what do people think? What does everyone else think? If you like it and it's something that you want to play, go ahead. There's nothing that can stop you. But people like Rev pay attention to the charts because it tells him and everyone else where the people are. That's where the money is. And if Bungie doesn't have a good influx of money, they can't support Marathon. That's what he's saying.
Recognition at this point, ladies and gentlemen.
You can't go one Rev Says Desu video without him saying pattern recognition. That just can't be a dog whistle to anything, guys.
What are you talking about, brother? What are you talking about? All he said was pattern recognition. He said that because it's happened time and time again. Are you deaf? Are you blind about what's in front of you right now? Marathon is dying. Concord died. High Guard died. Things that are so out of proportion, and these big game companies that are pushing it are dying because of so many reasons. And they've already been explained to you time and again. And he's always saying the same thing. He's saying this is why this is dying. It's because in Marathon, it's because it's an oversaturated market. It's because not a lot of people want to play this game from Bungie when they have Destiny or like Halo, other stuff like that. And it's not at any fault, like the individual developers that work on the game. It's the big companies at the say so. That's who you should be mad at, honestly. That's who you should be upset at, because people, they drive their core audience away. Yeah, you're playing Marathon, no doubt. But will Marathon be here to be played in the future? I don't know. You got to ask yourself that question. Do you think ahead? Are you going to spend money on a game that might not be there tomorrow? Keep looking at the charts to see where it is. I know it hurts, but you got to look at them.
Anyways, I think we've watched enough of this absolute fucking clown hypocritical statements that he makes with every other fucking breath. But again, if you like what I do here and you actually like games, no matter like if the game looked woke or if the game looks like, I don't know, whatever the fucking opposite of woke is, fucking like Republican shit, I don't know. If that shit doesn't matter to you and you just play a game because it's a good game and because you like the game, then you know what? You would fit right in to my community, okay?
Hypocrite. He usually says the same thing, dude, over and over in every video. And he references using the same references every time. Clearly you're not paying attention, or clearly you're not listening. And clearly you're not understanding why he's saying the things he's saying. The reason why he talks about these games in the way that he does is because he's paying attention to some things that other people are not. And that's some of the most important things, like Steam charts. He's usually pointing that out because there's something to be said about it, in that if there aren't enough people playing this sort of game, how long can it really be supported? How long can you support Concord with like 5 people playing the game? How long can you support High Guard with 10 people playing the game? How long can you support Marathon and its $100 million budget on 80,000 people? It's not enough. It's just not. And that's the saddest thing, is because some of these people just don't understand the bigger picture. I know it sounds dumb to say that. I know it sounds like unironically like chud-like to say that, but you have to actually look at the proof in the pudding. Yeah, I don't know what else to say other than the reason why Rev makes videos based on Steam charts and like player counts is because he's paying attention to where the money is at. Because, big surprise, these companies can't run on like hopes and dreams. They have to have people to play their games. Rev here is looking at the reasons why these games are failing, why people won't play these games, because it's not him that's doing that. It's not him that's making these games go poof. He's paying attention to the reasons and the facts and pointing them out. And when he points them out, people get angry. People who want to see this game succeed, but they're not playing it. That's the real problem here. That's what needs to change. And, it's not at any fault of his own. He's doing the work so that we can look at the facts and make our own decision on what to think about it. I don't always agree with him. Truth be told, I don't always agree with Rev Says Desu, but out of anything, I usually believe him because he looks at the facts, he shows it, he explains it so that it's easier for me to understand. And then, we'll see it play out in the future. And he makes follow-ups. And he just keeps doing what he's doing. And it's good. I believe he is a good source. An incredible one at that. Not everything he says is going to be right 100% of the time. At least I don't think so. And, maybe in the future he'll have more bad takes for you to pick at. But you really got to look into it deeper than what the surface level is. That's where he is. He's looking at something deeper than just like the gameplay and like the basicness of the game, He's looking at why it was made, what was the purpose of being made behind it, and like where is it going to go from here? Because if there's not enough people there to play the game, people aren't going to play it. That's just the cold hard truth. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Let's go ahead and look at the comments. What would somebody think of the Poro companies? They deserve all of our money for free. Yeah, this guy unironically thinks that games can be held up like Marathon on hopes and dreams. You don't don't you want good games to be on the market? Yes, we do. That's literally the point of shitting on bad games. We want good games instead of steaming piles of shit covered down our throat or shoved down our throat. He says, Six says in response, Marathon isn't a bad game, and another guy says, yes, it is. It has no originality at all, and all the characters are basic as fuck and look like everyone else in the same genre. Also, I can tell you're just going into bad faith, just from the little bit in the video. And I believe him. I believe this one fully hard. And like, there's no doubt about it. This guy doesn't understand the concept of wanting money. Of like games that need money, that need money to survive. Wow, yeah, you're insane if you think this game has no personality. Doesn't really matter if it does. If it's not making money, then it's, kind of probably, even if it was a good game, which it doesn't look like a bad game. I don't think it looks like a bad game. But if it's not capturing the players, then it's not enough. It's not good enough. It just isn't. And when people are trying to be more frugal with their money, there's a reason why you need to wow the people. All right. My guess is a lot of the hate on Marathon stems from its earlier controversy concerning art theft. It got resolved, but the reputation of a game can be severely affected from such things. Bungie hate has also been pretty big things affecting Marathon because people hate on the company for some of its business decisions, giving up Halo, etc. That's like one of the least concerning reasons, or like some of the least concerning problems with Bungie. But when it comes to Marathon on its own, if it doesn't capture the audience, that's a problem in on its own. That's like a separate issue. The others are just like complementary issues. Rev sucks, but the fact that game journalists were waiting for the update to come out before releasing reviews is sus as hell. It would be different if that was industry standard, but it's not. Exactly. I mean, like, it's not like journalists don't report on literally everything anyways. Like, come on. Rev's voice activates my fight or flight response. No flight, just pure rage. I don't know, just a hater, I guess. I don't like Marathon, just not my type of game, but the hate around it and the amount of people wanting it to fail is insane. Rev is a person normal people shouldn't take seriously anyways. Dude has been a joke to most people with an IQ above 50. According to who? Who? Because I don't really see that reflected in like his view count, his, honestly, he's 753,000 subs and he's been on the rise. I remember when he was at 400,000. He's been getting up there. I don't think he's I don't know where this is coming from. That seems like a baseless claim. And you can see this guy is just liking all the comments that he agrees with. I'm going to say a few things, though, if I come across as mean or hostile. I'm not meaning to. Firstly, I will admit I've watched a bit of Desu, though I haven't watched him for months. Though I would be more inclined to listen to him due to him not being, or at least sounding so angry or hostile. That is the big thing that I imagine to most in terms of listening to someone, especially if someone who came across your video more agrees with them. Constantly insulting them is just going to cause them to be defensive and will shut down any ability to listen to what you're saying. Secondly, hoping, praying, and spouting stuff trying to make a game fail isn't something only the right does, as I've seen plenty with the left. Based take. Actually pretty good take. And being honest, I'm pretty sure I remember where people would try to ruin people's lives just because they were playing Hogwarts Legacy, having a list in everything. I do know that the right also has a list, though. I personally haven't seen any other action than refusing to buy and play said things, so I could just have not seen it. So I'll just go with that both are doing the same thing, just that I haven't seen one side doing it. Well, here's the thing. When it comes to the right, they're just not going to buy the game. They're just not. And, most people who are on that side play video games like that, like Marathon. When they're not buying the game, there's a problem. You know, yeah, kinda. Thirdly, I would simply suggest that if you enjoy the game, then and they don't, then one, you don't have to prove it to anyone. Of course, you can try and prove that they're wrong, but that would require a more calm tone video. Though I would disagree with that a large live service game just needs 10k active players because it's dependent on the cost to make, maintain, and keep players coming back. Exactly. Someone has a brain here. Let's say that Marathon costs $100 million and only has 10k players, and every skin costs $60. It took around 170 skin purchases from every player. That would be to just break even on the game development, not including the added content, server running, and marketing. I personally haven't played Marathon, though I could have sworn it released a while ago, then was taken off and I guess brought back. I don't know. May try it out. If it's free, though, I'm not going to bother. Very few games can pair microtransactions with having having to initially pay for the game too. Exactly. When you look at something like Fortnite, which lives off of microtransactions, the reason why they're so prominent is because it's been up for like 8 years at this point, and it's gonna keep getting there. It's gonna keep grabbing a player base because it's like an insanely good trailblazer of its own genre, and it's kept that sort of consistency. Marathon isn't doing anything new. They have an oversized budget, not including probably on marketing and like other things like that, and they expect for the game to run off of 80,000 people. It's just not realistic. They need the higher player base in order to make up for that sort of thing, and they need to maintain that player base even more importantly because it's live service. It just can't live off of 80,000 people dwindling down to 60,000. Honestly, I'm glad you're enjoying the game. Maybe enough to make this video, or maybe because you really just enjoy or really just disagree with Rev. I don't know. Though it honestly was a bit hard seeing someone try to discredit and prove the game is good by basically just sending insults, especially because I'm not very receptive to people who argue like that. Most people aren't. I agree. I will, though, hope for you that the game doesn't shut down soon, though. 100%, gonna be honest, just looks like a slightly maybe more complex hero shooter because it looks like there is an inventory. Again, sorry if I came across as maybe rude, condescending, or mean. I'm trying to give feedback, but also in a way pushing back against your very hostile attitude in the video with things it appeared to me you were saying. In the end, I just say to be less angry, as people have many different opinions on things. And like one person like Desu may despise the game, while someone like you may love it. We all have different opinions and views on things and topics, and sadly, I think a lot of people have forgotten that. Rev never really said that he despised the game. That he's never really injected his personal opinions into that sort of thing either, because he knows it doesn't matter. What he's saying usually is there's a reason why these games flop, and here's the reason. It doesn't mean that he actually hates the game or anything like that. If he plays it or if he likes it or anything like that, that's his business, and he probably doesn't care to explain it. But from what I've seen, he just doesn't care to share that. He just gives the opinion. He just gives his opinions on it and the facts of the matter. And that people are just people, imperfect, though very capable of learning and changing their mind on things. I truly wish that people would realize this and try to thusly have a dialogue, because no one wants to do that anymore due to minor differences when otherwise you'd all probably get along just fine. That's about all. Okay. Hope you have a great day, though, Silly Goober. Have fun in Marathon. I like this guy. I appreciate the constructive criticism. I do notice I tend to insult a lot in my videos when I'm talking about people I think are harmful. I don't mind. but something you said stuck with me. I do think I should probably talk more positively about the thing, or talk about what I like / appreciate about the game if I'm going to defend it instead of just purely reacting to this video. I will try to do that more in the future. Hey, look, he took some criticism. I love it. From somebody who actually does have a brain. Now, if we could get that for every single interaction. It's jarring to see, people that think like this. And the results, they speak for themselves. 982 views from a guy with 1.59k subs. I'm not trying to say that, like, oh, look at him. He's so small, he's so little. Because I'm not any different. But the hate for Rev really doesn't go far. Not only that, but it doesn't look like many people agree with you. So try and understand why, he has the opinions that he does, why he says the things he says, and why, things are the way they are. And then come back with a fresher and more relaxed appeal. In other words, use your brain.